Hey y'all, how you doing? My name's Valerie. Welcome back if you've been here before, and hello if you haven't. Today is going to be my first garden tour of the season, and I'm just going to show it all to you, the good, the bad, the ugly. We have a lot of unfinished garden projects at the moment because we're working on the inside. We're doing a bathroom repair project, so we're having to divide time between being outside and being inside, so we're not quite as far along as I would like to be out here. But I also haven't really done any planting yet for the season, so I mean a couple things here and there, but like my main vegetable garden and a lot of stuff that I grew out from seed this year, I haven't planted most of that, maybe a couple things here and there. So I kind of just wanted to walk through the garden and show you the stuff that's pretty and maybe discuss some of the things that I would like to get done soon or before the summer ends. You know, different projects. And that's why I say it's the good, the bad, and the ugly, because it's been raining, we haven't been able to mow, there's just all kinds of things going on. With that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So we're starting at the front door, and that trash can was turned over. We are going to get all of this stuff taken care of, thrown away, put away. We just really haven't done our cleanup out here yet. Pots, any of those pots, anything that's not being used will be taken and put away, but I do have a persimmon tree here in this pot that a friend grew from seed and gave me a seedling. And then I have another persimmon over here, and this one is a bit bigger. When I planted it, it was bigger. The other one over there that I just showed you was much punier. But I'm going to grow them out here in these pots probably for another year or two. This stuff right here between these trellises, this is where I'll plant tomatoes that make it convenient and easy to just pick tomatoes as you're walking to the car. But any of the stuff that's between these trellises, this is stuff from my own garden, as opposed to the stuff over there that is for seedling sales. This is a pot that I just threw some stuff in that needed a place to go because I dug them up in various spots and put them in here until I find a more permanent place for them. This is that kale that we started from seed probably a month and a half to 2 months ago. I need to pick some of it. I still got things in my greenhouse. Lettuce needs picked again. I just picked that and it's grown pretty fast right now. These are the ranunculus that we planted together and seedling cell stuff. That right there just honestly needs to be dumped in the compost. There's nothing in it. Same with it. Same with this. There's nothing in it. Just some pots from plants that had died. All of this will either get moved or planted. Same with this one. It's just got grass coming up. And this one right here actually has some gladiolas that I grew from seed. So I'll probably get this one weeded and get it topped off with some fresh soil. In this bed back here, though you can't tell it because it just kind of blends in, there is a bed back here. This has crocosmias in it, and they are starting to, those big tall things that kind of look like grass, wide blades of grass, that's the crocosmia coming up. So I really need to get this weeded. Honestly, of all the stuff I need to do right now, this one's kind of low on the priority list. I think we're going to go beside the house and go up toward the top where my vegetable garden is and come around that way. I'm about ready to show you the bed around my pond and the one across from it up against my house. And these are the beds that honestly have probably gotten the most attention, though parts of the one around my runoff pond, parts of that garden have been neglected. I still need to weed and mulch it. there's just a whole bunch going on right now, and hopefully I get to it. Who knows? So on this side, we have this little garden here, and I had this clump of English daisies. I had this clump here and this clump here, and then so this real early, no, actually it was probably late winter, I divided them and moved them down here. And then I planted these violas. We planted these out together on a video. They're in bloom. Eventually these things will bulk up more, and the plants won't be so small, and then they'll get more and more blooms on them. But I kind of dotted them around. Now on this back netting back there, I planted some sweet peas that I collected seed from last year, and then I let a couple of these calendulas volunteer, because last year this bed was full of calendula and there were so many volunteers. Now, most of the rest of the stuff here are mini roses and regular roses. So I pulled all the calendula out to put all these little mini roses. There's one regular rose, and all the rest are mini roses. I cleaned the calendula out of here because I needed a place to put these, and I needed a place to put them where the rodents and the deer were less likely to eat them. And anything that's near my house, because we're out here all the time, and because my dogs are right over here in this yard, anything that's in this area they really don't mess with too much. There's other stuff that's much more convenient. I do have this golden variegated lemon thyme. It smells so good. I have chives right there. They're getting ready to bloom. And I have green onions right there because it makes it real convenient just to come out my door and grab some. Now down here, I have orange thyme, and it's in bloom. And this smells so good. I grew this from seed, and it's spreading out. I love that stuff. And then let's go to this bed, and then I'll go to the pond bed. We got our compost bin back in place. This bed right here is full of native columbine, coral bells, and then this right here is love in the mist. So I planted this native columbine here 2 years ago, and it's totally taken up this whole bed. It's spread out so much that I think I'm going to find another spot for it in the fall. I'm going to leave it here. I'm going to try really hard to keep the flowers cut back so it doesn't seed anymore. It's beautiful, but it's just in the wrong spot for how much it wants to spread. This is a native West Virginia plant, so I was used to just growing the columbine that you get at like your nursery. I wasn't used to growing this native variety, and it really does love it here. But this fall I think I'm going to move it. Then the last thing in this little bed, I actually had to take some of the columbine out because I have this lemon thyme right here. So I had to pull some of the columbine back so this would have room to spread. Alright, now we just looked at all of those areas. Now we're going to look at this area along the pond. We have nothing planted here. And I know I say pond, it's empty right now, but it's a runoff pond. It fills up when we get rain, and then it drains quick, and it feeds our water table. Here's a succulent that I got on clearance for like 25 cents from Lowe's. And there was no label what kind it was. But last summer I just stuck it in the ground. Maybe 2 summers ago now. I stuck it in the ground, and it's just spread. I put a little a bunch of toadflax seed in this area here, and some Moroccan toadflax, and I really don't think that any of this is Moroccan toadflax. However, I need to go take some pictures and plant ID some of this stuff to be sure. And this is some spiral grass. I forget what it's called. And it looks kind of poor, but it does. It's an evergreen. However, we had a really hard winter this year, so some of them get nipped. What I do is I just cut the brown back, and then it'll send up a bunch of new green curly growth. And because it's so early in the season, it just hasn't filled out with the green stuff yet. I just recently cut all the brown off. And here we have, this right here is some naked ladies that aren't in bloom. I have some sea holly, I have a mini rose, I have this peony that's not in bloom yet, but it's got buds on it. I have some sedums. There's just a lot of stuff spread through here. Not a whole lot of it's blooming yet, but I do want to show you so that way you can see the difference as the season goes on. I also have my pineapple tree, and I've bumped into it and it's looking a little worse for wear. I'm not sure if I should cut these back or not, so I need to do some research on that. Here's some more of those little violas that we planted. They're blooming. Let's see if I can. They're so beautiful to me. More sedums. I have this prairie smoke here that's blooming. They get these pretty little fern-like leaves. It's not completely open yet, but it's got buds. It's a dainty little plant. And I have sedums all over the place in these gardens because I want to stuff these beds so full that the weeds have a hard time growing. And also to get more texture in here, because at one point it was just looking all the same shade of green. So I've been trying to fill in with different textures and different leaf colors. Some more sedums that will spread. Some Dusty Miller that overwintered and is coming back. A Coral Bells heuchera. Right here I have some thyme that whenever I harvested from it this winter, I don't know why I did this, but I cut it out in an ugly way. And so that's what that is. And I'm hoping that some of these little spots that you can see here are green will come in and fill it out, because it's nice and full here and it's nice and full here, but this patch where I cut it out just looks bad. But there is new growth, so I'm hoping by summertime it will look green again, and next time I'll be more aware of how I cut it. I have pineapple mint, and it's starting to creep into the walkway. Some more sedums back here. That grass, it's kind of got a bluish tint to it. This grass here, that is a decorative grass. I have some St. John's wort here. This stuff right here is St. John's wort. It's got weeds in it. Got some lavender there. Apple mint. Greek Mountain oregano right here. This is more an upright oregano. It kind of grows a little bit taller than that kind of oregano. Some more prairie smoke. Some more sedums back there. This right here is apple mint. It kind of has a velvety, fuzzy kind of leaf. It's coming out to the walkways too. Then that right there is bee balm. I have some chocolate mint way down here coming back. And then right here, some lime balm. Oh, it smells so good. Some motherwort. I think that's what it's called is motherwort. Right there. If not, I'll correct it, but I'm almost positive it's motherwort. some mountain mint, and down in there some lamb ears. Right there I have the remains of an elderberry that's sending up shoots. So I'm glad it's coming back. It needed a rejuvenation prune, but I think that I just cut it back too far. But it looks like it's sending up shoots. So I'm just going to hope for the best. Okay, here is up to my vegetable garden. But I do have one little bed up here that I'm going to take you and show you, even though it just looks like a grass patch. I want to show you anyways. So, I have some chives here. And as you can see, they're in bloom. I've got a little patch here. But right here is the limoncello lemon balm. It's supposed to be a lemon balm that's super lemony. And it is. It's very, very strong lemon. I grew them out from seed. Here, coming back, you can barely see it, some strawberry mint. Oh, that smells so good too. And then this right here is even harder to see, but it's all spread throughout this little area, like there's some. But this is orange mint. Oh, that's so good. And this right here is some mandarina lemon balm, or orange lemon balm. Some people just call it orange balm. But that smells really good. So that's all that's in this bed here. And I know that stuff is aggressive, but that's why I planted it here, so it can kind of just take over. Now I want to kind of show you the view from up here. Just, it's so beautiful. And then of course, nothing but woods behind. This area right here is where I'm thinking about putting that columbine. Thinking about just digging up making the bed, digging up the whole clump and just putting it there so it can kind of just go wild on the edge of the wood line. It's supposed to be critter resistant, but we'll see. So now we're going to walk all the way over there to my vegetable garden. See, this is lemon balm that we planted here a long time ago, like probably 15 years ago. And it volunteers. There's a spot. There's another thing of the lemon balm. Originally, before we got this excavated, because we did have this excavated a few years ago, we had it planted in this area. So it may have just been pushed downhill when he was doing his dirt work, or it could have been where it's volunteered, because they do like to pop up in random places. Okay. Now you can't tell because this needs mowed, and it's just going to rain some more today, so we can't really mow yet. But all along here, you can kind of see them sticking up. And all along here, we have peonies. And I cannot remember the type. If I can find it in my notes, I'll put it on the screen. If not, I apologize. But they're kind of lining what eventually will be our walkway. I mean, it's our walkway, but eventually there will be more structure. There'll be steps or something. But you can kind of see they go all the way. Those particular ones go that way. And these ones go here. All right. These are the little onions that I just put compost on, and they've grown significantly since I've composted them, so that's pretty awesome. Compost bin. I do have a few random things up here, like that's right there's a patch of naked ladies, but I'm not really going to tour this area yet. I do have some bluebells there. I think that's what they're called, Virginia bluebells maybe. We rescued these from a house that's going to be condemned, so we just planted them here. We're at the top, and I'm getting ready to take you into my vegetable garden area. But we still need to do fence repairs. I still haven't got it all weeded. And the weeding I did get done, quite honestly, with all this rain, it's green again. So we're going to come up here with our little hand cultivator and probably get after this, except for the parts where I'm trying to save the celosia and let it volunteer. I'll still just weed it by hand, but the rest of it we're just going to come with a cultivator and redo the parts I've already weeded and do the parts I haven't weeded yet. And then we're going to bring up some fresh compost before we plant. But this fencing up here got weighted down in the snow, so we actually need to come up here and also put all the fencing back on the posts. And until that's done, I really can't plant up here anyways. Honestly, most people in this area don't plant for at least another week. However, I usually have already started planting by now. My vegetable garden, that is. I mean, I've planted a couple of perennials here and there. But, yeah, for my vegetable garden, I've usually already started planting. And it's not even ready yet, so who knows, maybe that's a good thing. I don't think it's going to hurt anything to be a week or two past what I would normally do, because that's just right on time for everybody else. All right, let's turn this around and get going with the tour. So right here is garlic. It looks like I need to come weed it. And I just filled the end of the bed in with some onions that I grew from seed. So here is my vegetable garden. Remember how I spent all that time weeding this row? Well, as you can see, it doesn't really look like I did anything to it. I do have a nice strand of mushrooms. That's pretty awesome. Over here, when I weeded the first time, I planted some carrots because this will be between my tomatoes. My tomatoes will go on these trellises. And then you plant your tomatoes, and the thought is the tomatoes shade your carrots and keep them cool. But I've got several carrots coming up throughout here. You just can't really spot them for all the weeds that have come back up. It can be highly frustrating to spend all that time being so meticulous about getting the weeds, and then you come back up and it's green again. But honestly, it's better than it would have been had I done nothing at all. And it'll still grow stuff, so we'll just get it taken care of, and hopefully it won't be too big of an issue. Who knows? Yeah, this row right here is where I usually plant my tomatoes. Now, this is where the fencing goes up. And so what we've decided to do is take this out and make this a walk-through. So this yellow string will come out, and then we will string some more string here. So essentially, instead of having a walk-through in the middle, we'll have a walk-through that goes all the way around. Because before, the pattern is you come up, you go through the middle, you can go right or left, and then you have to go down. You were doing backtracking basically to get this area here. So now you'll be able to just walk all the way through. We put the break in the middle originally because we thought, well, we're not going to want to walk that whole row. We're probably going to just want to cut through sometimes. But having lived with it like this for a few years, we have decided that it would be much more convenient to just have it to where you could walk a big loop. So that's what we're going to do there. There's not much really to see here, except for a bunch of weeds. The weeds are lower on this side because I've already weeded. The weeds are much higher on this side because I haven't yet. But It wouldn't be surprising if, when I do go to weed these areas, if I don't find a bunch of volunteer basil, because a bunch of basil went to seed here last year. And then this is the area where I'm hoping to have some celosia volunteering. I do see some calendulas. I'll let those grow. I don't see anything that's specifically celosia, but there's a lot of little teeny tiny seeds, so who knows. Okay, this right here still needs weeded. I have tools in here. A hoary, some snips. This is a clematis. It's a dark burgundy color. I had one over here, but it died in the drought. So I got one that I'm going to replace on this side. But also this year, I think we're going to grow some beans on this in addition to the clematis. And on this side, it's the same thing. This little area, I'm going to hand weed, and hopefully some celosia volunteers. And then the rest of this is for veggies, and whatever else I decide to put. But for now, it just needs to be all weeded. And the fence is still, I know you can't see it because it's black, but the fence is still up on some of these. Like this one right here, it's completely down. It's up on most of this row. You can't see that though. So you walk under here, and this is the ring bed. And I weeded this out too. But also there's a bunch of strawberries planted in here. I also have this grapevine. And even though it doesn't look too great, it does have green growth. I put these metal wires that I will train these grapevines on. There's also another grapevine here. Oh, I forgot to show you. I have a climbing rose here. It's red. Some strawberries and weeds. Grapevine. There is another rose. It's like a mauve color. This right here, I had sunflowers growing in last year, and I do have some volunteers. Like, that's a volunteer. But I'm going to rip these out and plant the sunflowers I want. Like, I've got some Steve sunflowers I'm going to plant there. This right here is just more strawberries. I do have, I don't know if it's going to survive, but I do have a hops plant right here. It looks like it's got some green on it still. And then I have this hops plant here that's putting on some green growth. So we will string those on this, and hopefully eventually our ring will be covered in things. Alright, so we walk out this way, and we do have a few peonies here. There's like peonies that kind of come this way. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. And then there's a walkway, and then there's 1, 2, 3 peonies on this side. Now here, there's not really anything yet. Eventually I do want to get this fenced off and use it for, well, a few different things. But I'm not really going to talk about that until I start to work on it, because it could change a million times between now and then. I'm sitting up here by my ring, just kind of taking a breather, because I've been talking and walking kind of quickly. Plus it's just a pretty view, but that's what I wanted to show you. I just kind of wanted to show you what it looks like when I'm sitting up here. Through the trees, every once in a while, you'll see cows or horses running. Isn't that just a spectacular view? It's so green, it's so beautiful, and so peaceful. Also, it can be overwhelming because it reminds me of how much I still need to do. Alright, I guess break time's over. I should probably get up and continue with the rest of this tour. So we're up here still. My vegetable garden and my ring bed is behind me. Let's see, let me show you this. I know I'm going back up, but I also have this row of blueberries. So all of these bushes, all the way down, are blueberry bushes. And then there's one right there. I do need to get it weeded and get it cleaned up some because those plants there are encroaching too much on that blueberry, so I'll probably dig up the plants and get those out of there. But yeah, I just wanted to show you my row of blueberries that go along the vegetable garden here on top. See, here's the vegetable garden and my ring bed. That's my one of my blueberry rows. Okay, now let's walk down the hill. I've got these beds here, but first I think I want to take you over this way. So we have these bed frames that someone was junking. They're from like a hotel. And we're just going to use these to grow our squash and pumpkins in. They'll grow in here and then they can just sprawl out whatever way they like. The thing with squash and pumpkins is the deer and the rabbits and all that, they usually don't like their leaves. Sometimes they'll get the fruit, sometimes they ignore it, so we're just going to plant it out here and take our chance. And hopefully there's so much that they leave it alone. There have been years where they've left everything alone, and then we've had other years where stuff has been nibbled on but not actually punctured through the skin. And if it's not punctured all the way through, I'll let it scar over and still use it. But that's what this part is going to be used for. Right. We just came from up there. Now we're going over this way. We continue the peonies here. There's peonies. And they go all the way down to probably 5 or 6 feet from the driveway. This bed here, I really need to come and cut off all of last year's growth because this right here is feverfew and it is growing quite well. But it also has last year's growth and this bed hasn't been weeded. The feverfew doesn't go all the way up. And there's a spot on the very end there. So I want to get that weeded and filled in with some plants instead of just letting weeds grow there. I had zinnias and salvia in that last year. We might just take this bed apart and mow it down. Put it back at a later time. Trying to look and see if any of the salvia is going to come back. It's not perennial here. But I know sometimes stuff reseeds. Nope. That may or may not be some right there. We'll have to wait and see. We'll just have to wait and see if any of the sage comes back. I think it's doubtful. This one right here, this bed, it has some hollyhocks grown in it, or we would just end up ripping this out and cultivating it, or just ripping it out and mowing it. But it does have hollyhocks, and this is their second year, so they should bloom. But after they bloom, I'm going to collect seeds and call it a day. It's starting to rain, so as long as it doesn't start raining too hard, we'll continue. But if it starts raining too hard, I'll have to cut it short because, I don't want to ruin my camera. Okay, this bed here is the one we cleaned up to put onions in. As you can see, they're all growing. This little metal bed down here is where we put all those glads that we found coming up when we were weeding this bed, and they're starting to poke through. Alright, this is my driveway, and we are going to go up this way. This is one of my favorite areas in my whole yard. I'm underneath these pine trees, and they're on either side, and it creates this tunnel to where if you're working out in the hot sun in the spring or in the summer, you can come under these pine trees, and if there's a breeze, it almost feels like air conditioning comparatively. It's at least, I want to say, 10 degrees cooler under here on average than it is out in the rest of it. So I absolutely love this area for just coming and relaxing. I'll often sit on this hillside right here and just hang out until I cool down. Now my driveway is a horrible, horrible mess. So we've got tarps there that just need picked up and put up. This is the garden we're going to go to, but we're going to go down there. Okay. That's got horse manure in it that we need to spread. A big pile of peanut shell for mulching. Wood that we have for a house project. Cardboard is back there. Like, this just needs a good cleanup. But this right here is the bed that I just planted all my asparagus in. And it's got comfrey there. The comfrey is blooming. I put some sedums here and some sedums here, and I'll fill this area in with some flowers. But there's where my old asparagus was growing. And this right here is where I planted all my seed asparagus. And of course it's getting weedy again, but that's just the nature of the game. Alright, we're going to go down here. So these fences need put back up as well. In the past we've grown tomatoes on these 3 rows. And as you can see, we need to reattach our fence. But this top row we still plan to put tomatoes on. We just got it tarped off for now. And then this middle row right here, I'm going to grow beans on, and then I'm going to put dahlias in that row as well. So beans will go on the fence, and then I'm going to plant dahlias too. Now here in this bed is where we planted all those potatoes. And as you can see, they are growing amongst all the violets. We are inundated with violets. This bed here last year was dahlias. None of my dahlias survived. I left them in the ground. I knew there was a chance, but we need to really just get this weeded. And I'm probably just going to put flowers there this year. You can't see it, but there's an L-shaped bed here. And on this end, I usually have Sweet Annie that volunteers, so I'm going to let it. I just need to get a lot of weeding done. It's really starting to come down, but whenever that rain, it's really starting to come down. Whenever I'm out here looking at all of this stuff that needs weeded and all the stuff that still needs done, I get overwhelmed and want to give up. So try not to think of it as a whole and just try to think of it in little pieces. And honestly, just do what I can and let what I can't go. Even if it's not pretty, that's just the reality. And while I do want it to be beautiful and I would love to have this garden that was just jaw-dropping, I'm not going to get there without the hard work, and I'm just looking at this as the hard work that will eventually get me to my goals. We have those row covers we put in, and there's cabbages under here. And it looks like, let's take a peek. It looks like they've put on some growth. Hopefully the cabbage moths don't get in here. I used to have strawberries planted there, but I dug those up and moved them. Oh, see, everything's just so weedy, and it's been constantly raining. Back there, I have a perennial. It's called masterwort. Over in this bed here, I have some lady's mantle, some coral bells, and some astilbes. This whole little area is filled up, and some hostas too. There's a hosta. Sure, there's one down there. But this bed's pretty much filled up with like astilbes and hostas and like lady's mantle. But it's so weedy you can't really tell. And just another one of those spots that makes me feel overwhelmed, but hopefully one day it'll be as beautiful as it is in my mind. If you turn this way, I do have this rose here that's coming back, and this is a highly scented rose. I hope that it died back pretty far, so it might be coming back from rootstock instead of the grafted rose, because it was a grafted rose. So until it blooms, I won't know if it's the rose I paid for or if it just died back and is coming back from rootstock. And the way you can tell is when they bloom. Rootstock roses are usually this red with like this purple tint to it. It's upfront color's red, but there's kind of a purpley cast to it as opposed to like an orange cast, for instance. So at least every rootstock rose I've had has been that color. Okay, back here we do have more hostas. Hosta, hosta, hosta. And then we've got more hostas over here. Hosta, hosta, hosta. And back here, so down here I have a couple little pawpaw trees I grew from seed, and this is one of them. And I have another one down here that I'll show you. I did have one up in this area, but I think it died, though I'll keep an eye out for it. And this is another area that needs weeded really bad, but there's a little pawpaw tree I grew from seed. And it's planted down here where it gets shade. When I read up on pawpaw trees, they're an understory tree, which means that they grow in dappled light in the woods or on the edge of wood lines. And that's basically what this provides. It gets sun in the morning, and then dappled sun through the afternoon, and then in the evening it's more shaded. So I figured that that would hopefully replicate its environment, since I'm literally under a canopy of trees, which is supposedly what they like. Okay, the other one is right here, and it's a little bit bigger. Let me see if I can go ahead and pull the weeds around it, so that way it's easier to see, and it'll give it a little bit of space where it's not competing. I would like to get all this weeded and cardboarded and mulched. I just don't know if it'll happen. I know it'll happen, I just don't know when it'll happen would be a better way to put that. Back here behind where I have these pawpaws planted, I do have this golden seal plant, and it also likes to be in wooded areas. So I figured that would be a good spot to where I could kind of just let it grow. Okay, so we're on the back side of this. Eventually I want this whole area down here on the back side of those rows to be just a nice little shaded perennial area, with the exception of this little square here. The reason it's there is because this little part of the garden gets full sun all day, while the rest of it is part shade to shade. So we're on the back sides of these beds. I will meet you back at the top. So we just came from down there, but I forgot to show you, these are the blueberries that I did a rejuvenation prune on. And that one's already had the top growth cut out. But those ones haven't yet. But as you can see, it is starting to send up down there. We're going to get blueberries down there and get new blueberry growth. And then eventually we'll cut out these top branches and just let it regrow from the new growth. That's the whole point of a rejuvenation prune. I just want to leave the tops. You leave those to feed the plant and help regrow the new growth. But I just want to make sure before I cut these tops out that it's got plenty of strong new growth. Like I said, that one's already been done. These three right here still have some that could be cut out. So we already looked at this little garden where my asparagus is. Keep walking forward. I have these little raspberries here. These are bushel and berry I want to say they're called strawberry shortcake raspberries or shortcake raspberries, but they're bushy and they're thornless. They don't have any thorns, and they only grow to about 3 feet tall to 3 feet wide. Eventually these will go in the ground, but where I want to plant them isn't ready yet, so I'll just let them grow here. They're known for being able to be grown in containers. That's what they're touted as. So they'll just stay in these containers until I'm ready to plant them in the landscape. Now we have this bed right here behind my greenhouse. This particular bed has a whole lot more stuff in it than it used to, because I put a lot of perennials in here last fall that I got on clearance. This bed is starting to fill out in a way that I think is going to look really pleasing. Though until everything starts to bloom, you don't know. I did have white sage there, and I plan on putting white sage back. But I only had one come up from seed, which is fine. I'll put it back here, but I'm going to go buy some. There's a little herb stand that says that they have white sage, and I'm going to get some to put here. But I do have sedums, and we planted these little pansies along the front. There's a good chance, because the pansies were so small, that they won't actually bloom until fall, but they'll grow, and then they'll probably bloom from fall into winter. I have a bunch of different little sedums. Like I said, I'm trying to fill out all this dead space with plants so I don't have as much weeding to do. I do have a couple of strawberries that overflow into this. I have some hens and chicks. And this right here I want to say is bellflower. Some more sedums. Those are Cat's Meow Nepeta. If that's wrong, I will put it, but I think this is the Cat's Meow. This is a sage that I put here, I think. It's either a sage, because that right back there is my agastache. That's some agastache, so I think that that's a sage plant. This is Sweet Everlasting. Some more sedums. A columbine. I think that this one is yellow. It's one that I grew from seed. Look, that's starting to get some little flowers on it. I can't remember what's all here. Like, I'm not quite sure what that is. I know it's a plant. So we'll have to wait and see till some of this stuff comes up. That's just a weed. Hosta. That right there is a St. John's wort. I will put the name of it up here. I want to say cobalt, but that could be wrong. Golden cobalt. I don't know. I will put it on the screen, but that's one of the perennials that I got last year. Back there is a pink miscanthus grass. It's just like right there. It's just barely starting to grow. And around the side of here, I do have a couple of rose bushes, but they're tiny and they're not really doing anything. So I'm not going to show that part. So this I think is going to fill out nicely, especially once I get my white sage there. And the reason I want white sage is because where this is up against the greenhouse, in the summertime, this particular bed stays so hot. And I can't remember what it was I had here last year before I put the white sage in, but it struggled. Oh, it was more strawberries. The strawberries that I had up against here just dried out, whereas the ones over here and the ones along that edge are fine. But the ones that were in this line here, they all dried out. They just fried. So I put the white sage. It was kind of late, but it did well considering how late it was. If I would have had it there all summer, I think it would have loved it. So I'm going to try that again there this year. That takes me over to this bed. We took this stump out and moved the sedums that were in it to various spots in the garden. And that hosta's not even planted. This bronze leaf fennel here. I have some Artemisia wormwood. There's some Artemisia silver mound. And that's a different type of Artemisia. I didn't know if it was going to come back, but it is, so that makes me happy. This is a neon flash spirea. And I do have a couple of those pansies planted in the front of here, as well as, hold on, there's a couple little sedums that broke off that we put here. But also, there is a ton, I don't know if you can see this, but there is a ton of bronze fennel coming up in this area, like everywhere. So I might dig some of those up and put those in other places, but this one's doing good. It's come back for, this is its 3rd year. Okay, this is mostly just weeds. I have weeded this, but it's all coming back. We moved this, I planted hydrangeas here last year, but the one in the very corner was not getting enough light, and it was teeny tiny compared to the rest. So I moved that hydrangea here, and you can see it's got growth. It's called Eclipse, and it gets this burgundy foliage. And I planted it behind this spirea and silver mound. And then on this part I have some sedum and a variegated hydrangea and some hostas. Now this bed stays pretty shady, so it's basically got a bunch of small hellebores. Most of them have never bloomed yet because they were small when I got them. It's got this, I planted this bleeding heart last fall with those perennials, painted ferns. And so this is basically kind of just more woodland plants. I happen to still be here. This is where I put my hydrangeas. These will be moved too once I find a better place for them, because I think this is slightly too shady, and I think they'll survive here, but I don't know if they'll bloom. And I want to show you the hellebores that are in bloom. There's that one. There's this one, which has faded quite a bit. When it first came out, it was this deep, dark burgundy, but I like it that it has all the different colors throughout the season. It's kind of interesting that way. So that's this bed here. I have a pot of chamomile there. I just moved it there so it'd be in the sun because it's kind of shaded. This volunteered. That's not what I planted in the pot, but it volunteered, so I let it. I have some Nyphophia there. And this is a black and blue salvia. But I'm not sure if it's going to come back because this little garden flooded this spring. Well, late winter, early spring. And so it might have been too much water for this thing. But there is some little green growth here. And it looks like that might be sage, so I'm going to let it grow and see. Yeah, it looks like there's some here too. I have another one somewhere in this bed. Right here. But I don't see any new growth on it at all. But this one looks like it may come back. I will say this side of the bed flooded worse than this side, so this one does have more hope. So we're going to kind of build up this low spot right there, so hopefully it doesn't flood into this bed when my runoff pond gets full. Some more sedums. I do have a couple more of those pansies along this path. That right there is a gardenia, and it's not supposed to be hardy here either. Bless its poor heart, it keeps coming back. It's trying, man. It usually puts on a lot of growth. It dies back in the fall whenever the cold comes, and then it grows back. I don't know if it actually will ever flower. I don't know what's going on with that. I do know that I put it in the ground and it said it's not supposed to be perennial here, but I like to try anyways. It's come back 2 years in a row and hasn't bloomed in those 2 years. Alright, and last little part we're going to go over. I have these coral bells here. And this is my strawberry bed. I like having it here because it grows low and it doesn't block light from my greenhouse. But also, it's just nice to have these strawberries that you can pick on your way out to the car every day or whatever. But it's a combination of alpine strawberries and just regular strawberries. Then I have another coral bells here. And I had a little one next to it, kind of like that. But for some reason it hated its spot and it wouldn't get very big, so I moved it because it was dying. And it's coming back, but it's no longer here anymore. I know that watching garden tours like this maybe doesn't feel as rewarding as watching someone who has beautiful, perfectly manicured lawns. And maybe it's not as eye-catching. When I can keep from being overwhelmed, it brings me so much joy. And as the season goes on, this stuff will start to bloom and fill out. You know, right now everything's just small. There are a few things in bloom, the early stuff. But this stuff will start to bush out and the flower beds will develop and we may or may not get it mowed. But, you know, all of that stuff will make it look better. I just really wanted to come on here and show you what it looks like now, before like all my roses start blooming, before I get my garden in, before all that stuff starts happening, because it will look completely different. And I don't want to miss the stuff that's in bloom right now, even though there's not very much, like those columbines and those hellebores and, you know, just the bleeding hearts, just the little things that are in bloom. I thank you guys so much for hanging out with me on this tour. I know that tours are usually a little bit longer. I don't know if people really like watching my tours or not, but I like showing what's going on. And even though I do feel a little embarrassed about the state of things, overall I don't, because this is my reality, and even when it's a mess, I love it. Yeah, I wish it was mowed. I wish everything was perfect. I wish there was no weeds. But even in the current state that it's in, I absolutely love it. And it brings me so much happiness and joy. And I find so much beauty. Let's see. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for hanging out with me. I will see you next time. Bye.